So in my previous video, I talked about and explained the law, not the real law, but the law in respect to an RTO. So if you're a registered training organisation, you probably already know this kind of stuff, and once you did your registration, you had to meet it, and now you've got to keep going. But you may ask, hey, what happens if I don't do it? I mean, conventionally in society, if you break a law, there's usually, I guess under the doctrine of separation of powers, you've got the police arm which come and enforce that law. So if you're caught speeding, the police person will come in and give you a fine for breaking that law. In VET, who issues such fines? Who's got that, I guess, delegated authority to come and enforce the law? Well, it used to be a simple question to answer. And I guess now it's become more of a constitutional thing than anything. Let's pretend, I can't draw, but let's pretend that this is Australia. Look, I told you to pretend. And there's this document, and it's often referred to by its name as the Australian Constitution. And this document explains, you know, who governs what, who makes decisions, who makes legislations for the different, now this is going to get hilarious, the different states. Let's assume it looks something like this. Right? Intelligent people are going, dude, you're an idiot, and I take it for granted that I can draw Australia, but I clearly cannot. Anyway, so this constitution says, well, you know, certain decisions can be made by individual states, and certain decisions such as, you know, defence and so on, there's a whole list of them, are going to be made by the Commonwealth, regardless of what the states want. And within here it also says that if the Commonwealth makes a law and it's different to the state law, well, the Commonwealth law prevails. Anyway, the state still has some powers, and with regard to education, that under the Constitution is a state-based power. So each state can effectively, you know, state the standards for education, including VET, and they can also subsequently administer those standards. Now, this is how it was back in the day, and I think in 2011, prior to ASQA, this is the model. Each state had their own regulator who would actually enforce the law. The state would define their own standards in accordance with another thing that was similar to this, but called the Australian Quality Training Framework. And they would use that and do their own business. Cool. Now, some of you are seeing some issues with this. The whole contention of a nationally recognised qualification generally infers some national consistency. So, long story short, basically what they said is, well, hang on, these powers should effectively be referred to the Commonwealth, and we can do that within the Constitution. Each state can say to the Commonwealth, hey guys, it's probably better if you guys take over this show and you come up with a general law that applies to this and you guys enforce it. So ASQA was born, I guess, effectively, and nicely under, well, taking a bit of memory guess here, but Section 122 of the Constitution, basically they could steal some powers from the territories. So they said, hey, you guys, we're going to take this over for you. And the states, can you please refer your powers when it comes to VET education to us and we'll administer it? Pretty sure New South Wales jumped across pretty quickly and said, hey, you guys handle this. Then you had, I guess, Tasmania, South Australia, which is somewhere. Queensland also jumped in. Then you've got the problem states, which I live in WA and we're a problem state. And Victoria, which is somewhere over here. Probably didn't draw them, but who cares? They probably do. The respective regulators in WA was the Training Accreditation Council, and VRQA, I think, was the Victorian one. Anyway, they said, well, we want to retain our powers. We want to keep this stuff and we want to regulate our state when it comes to VET. Constitution, ASQA can't really do too much about that, but what they have is they've got limitations on what entities within WA and respectively Victoria can do. Whereby, look, if you're an RTO operating here and or here, you can run your business and be regulated by these bad boys, which is fine. So effectively they become your police. The limitations apply to such a degree that most RTOs unless they're very small or can confine themselves to a single state, are going to struggle. Because effectively, if I'm here, but I deliver to students, whether it be online, over here, here or here, the fact that I'm based here doesn't hold enough power to keep me registered here. So if I have one online student that I want to service from Queensland, I then need to say, look guys, I need to leave you and I need to join the national regulator, the Australian Skills Quality Authority. Let's go with that. That sounds legit. Okay, so short story, I've made a long story out of this. The main regulator when it comes to vet, the main police to administer the vet law would be ASQA. And I feel that unless something brutal happens, they are going to take ownership of the entire enforcement of vet throughout Australia. Cool, hopefully I've covered off everything. Feel free to ask questions in the comments because I could go on all day about this, but I'd rather go have a cup of tea and chill out, to be totally honest with you. So give me some comments and ask me some questions and I'll make some videos to explain it.